مرحبا يا رمضان مرحبا يا رمضان رمضان مرحبا يا رمضان مرحبا.
Today we complete, and we hope we complete the names that we made zikr of. We mentioned we do their zikr in our halaqat. There are mainly 5 or 6 of them. We hope we shall also include them in our today's talk. In the section 4, Imam Ghazali rahmatullah begins by saying that the servitude to the Almighty, the khidmah, the servitude of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the excellence of this servitude is that the person who is serving, he is capable to obtain, to absorb the blessings of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the blessings that he can absorb from the lights of the attributes of the divine. The more a person gains that, the more excellence he gains. And then after that he says that the benefit that we take, we receive from the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are 3 types. Number one, the benefit of hearing it. Just listening to it, to them, is a blessing. Number 2, understanding its meaning. And number 3, to believe firmly that whatever it means, that is truth. And then Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says these 3 themselves are not the excellence, because just hearing does not confine to humans. Even animals do hear the name of Allah. They can hear, so it's nothing special. Understanding the meaning, a literary man can understand them, the person who may not even have faith. So that is not special either. That does not reflect the excellence. And the aqidah and the firm belief that the meaning, whatever it is, that is truth, an ignorant person can have that. So these 3 are the benefits that we get from those words, which refer to the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they themselves are not, they don't constitute excellence. Then he says that if we look at the benefits that the people of qurb, the people of proximity, the divine proximity, the nearness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the close ones, the benefits they get. He says those benefits are again 3 types. First of them, now we are going through this so that we know that the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have something for us. And the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do get that. They gain it. They absorb from the blessings. So now he says that the first of their stages is the comprehension of the meaning, but not from the literary works or the dictionaries, based upon the spiritual exposure. Mukashafa, the spiritual exposure and vision. Mukashafa and mushahada. Not through the senses, apparent senses, no. Why that? Because what they get, the first stage of their blessings of the names of Allah is that they know, like seeing, that this is what it is. This is the meaning of this. Like something visible in front of them. So This is one thing. So much so that no shade of doubt, no shadow of doubt can come close. That is the first stage of the benefit that the people of proximity receive from the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Second thing, the benefit number 2 from after the first one is that when the attributes are exposed to them, then they develop a feeling of the significance of those attributes. And this develops a yearning, not just a wish, yearning towards taking them in, towards adopting them. This is the second phase or the second grade of the blessings from the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the people of Qurb, they gain. So that yearning comes to whatever is it possible, because not all the attributes of Allah are possible to obtain, to absorb by the creation. But those which are possible for human beings to attain, the yearning to get them comes in, that is developed. And the third benefit comes with obtaining that, because the more they obtain it, the more they absorb from those lights, the more they resemble angels. So from there they become closer and closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So from there we understand that their closeness is not physical, because Allah is not physical. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not have a physique, ma'adallah. So their proximity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through gaining the lights and absorbing the lights and the blessings from the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and coloring themselves with the light of those attributes. The more they color themselves with that, the more they absorb those lights, the closer they are considered to be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is what the people of proximity attain, some of the blessings that they attain from the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, he further says, if a person has in his mind the significance of these names, he understands the significance, but he still does not get that yearning, that means this person has either of two problems. Either the reason is that his certainty about the blessing is weak. He is not as certain as he should be. His certainty, his faith is weak. And the second reason possibly is that his certainty is not weak, but his attention is somewhere else more than it is here. His attention somewhere else is more than his attention here. And that somewhere else has taken him more than these attributes have taken him. So the point is, if somebody wants to receive the blessings of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first thing he needs to work on is to free his heart from other tendencies. Free it from other sides. Anything else will not allow the blessings to come in. The reason they say that the cognizance, ma'rifat itself, has the seed of this yearning, but it does not grow. It falls there, but it does not grow until the heart has left its own desires. Because two different opposite desires cannot develop in one place. There has to be one of them. The stronger one will continue to grow, and the weaker one will continue to decrease. So as a result of these benefits, when a person receives the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names, and he receives the qualities and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's blessings as much as he can, then after a certain grade, he is known as Ar-Rajul Ar-Rabbani, the godly person. Rajul al-Rabbani, the godly person, and now he is the companion with angels. This was the basic idea. Now after that, Sayyidina Imam Ghazali rahmatullah explains it. He says, look, the beings, things that exist, they are either dead or alive. There can't be a third. They are either dead or they are alive. And if they are alive, then they are either deficient or they are excellent. And the excellent ones are better. So, in order to understand the meaning of excellence here, he says that these living, those that creation that are alive, he says they are three types. They are three levels of their, because the excellence or deficiency, it is connected to the life. And the life means, in this context in particular, not the scientific or biological meaning. In this context, life means two things: idrak and fi'l. Ability to perceive and ability to act and move. The stronger these two are, the stronger the quality of life is. So, he says that there are three levels. Number one is Baha'im, the animals. Number two is Malaika, the angels. And number three, the humans, Insan. So these are three different levels of life. Then the Malaika, if you look at them, their idrak, their comprehension, ability to comprehend and ability to grasp is weak. And their ability to do is strong. So when this happens, then their perception depends on the physical nearness. If they are close, they will find. If they are distant, they won't know. And when this is the situation, in this situation, the act is stronger against the comprehension. When this happens, in this case, the creation, that type of creation, is dominated by the desires, not by the intellect, dominated by the desire. And his intellect will not stop him. You take any animal, just say dogs and pigs and cats, that's the situation there. Second one is the angel. Their comprehension or the ability to grasp and understand is not physical. So that is beyond being close or far. They can understand for long, long distances, maybe thousands of miles away. They can see and understand things. And when this is the situation, then their intellect is strong enough to stop them from any desire. So they don't have any desires. Because their intellect itself, not only that it is dominated by the light, it is more than, it's just light itself. So this is the angels. And in the middle of both of them is insan, a human being. Now about human being, he is the combination of both, idrak and fi'l. In the beginning, the animalistic qualities dominate, because when you see a child, his fi'l is stronger than his comprehension. His action is stronger than comprehension. So in order to understand, he needs to be close to something. He won't understand from that far. Why? Because his act dominates his aql. His fi'l dominates his aql. When this happens, in that case, the desire overwhelms. That's why children don't think much, they go for what they want. But gradually, when he grows and the light of aql, the intellect, comes in, and then his behavior changes, because aql enables him to grasp from distance as well. So he is not bound to physical nearness. And if this happens, then it means aql can stop him from his desires. His intellect will stop him from its desires. And in this situation, when aql dominates the desire, and it is made stronger and stronger through the help from the light of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then gradually the intellect will control his anger and his desire. This is the beginning of the blessings from the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His aql begins to control him against his desire. And gradually, when it goes on and it promotes, it advances itself, then the time comes then that this aql overwhelms his feelings. The light of Allah's names, it covers the aql so much that it overwhelms the feeling, and that he just loses desires, as if he doesn't have them. There are some mashayikh, and there have been, and there will always be, if less if not much, such people that if you give them just say the whole amount of gold on one side and a piece of stone on the other side, because his aql is so much overwhelming and absorbs so much light that he will see them equal. In his heart they are equal. Nothing special with this and nothing special with that. That is the situation where he is the companion with angels. So that is where he is receiving the blessings of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Over here Imam Ghazali rahmatullah finishes this topic, and he says that the deficiency or excellence is basically related to the comprehension, to the perception rather than comprehension, perception and intellect, and their deficiency and excellence. Those will affect his deeds, his desire and acts fairly. Now he brings up a new question here. The basic understanding, he has clarified everything. Now he says the question is whether the actual cognizance of the divine, is that possible? Over here he says there are two different dimensions for learning or understanding something. Number one, he says one is that somebody explains to you. This is deficient. If I'm telling you that you haven't tasted the banana in all your life, and I start telling you it's sweet, you don't know which particular sweet you mean. But you will have some good feeling about it, it's sweet. So this is deficient way of understanding something and grasping something. But by description, this is one way when it comes to the cognizance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this can establish a thought, can't give you the exact thing. You just can't have it unless you taste it. So the second way is that go and get that thing yourself. So if you want to know the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just say, or ilm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what it means. So one way is to explain to you what ilm is. And knowledge, and you see things, you hear things, you know, and you have somewhat understanding what knowing is. So on the basis of this, you will feel that what it means that Allah knows. The second way is blocked here, because the second way is that you become Allah yourself, ma'azallah, and then you see what it is, and you can't do that. So only one way is available, that is through description. He gives an example here, and in this way he gives the example. For example, if you want to understand somebody's magic, so in order to understand exactly what he did, either you are magician like him yourself, or you are superior to him. If these two things are not there, You may have an idea, but you don't know exactly what it is. So this way is blocked here. Nobody can become Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Imam Ghazali says, over here makes a very interesting statement. He says, if you look at this point and its reality, you will understand even a person who is close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he cannot know what a prophethood is unless he himself is. So you can't have the cognizance of the prophethood and messengership, let alone Allah subhanahu. The meaning is that real cognizance. But if you feel the inspiration, you can imagine what type of thing it would be, but you can't know exactly what it is unless you are. And it's a very interesting point he makes here. And then he says, the ma'rifat of urafa. This is the reason those who are drowned into the gnosis of the divine, the last result they arrive at is that we can't know him. That's the last thing they say. We can't know him. And this is why Sayyidina Siddiqui Akbar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu says, the understanding to admit that I can't understand is actual understanding. Because the reality of the divine is that you can't understand it. You can't comprehend it. You can't even perceive, you can't even think of it. You can't even imagine. Because imagination is again a creation of Allah. And Allah is not like creation. And Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to say in his dua a lot of time, "Oh Allah, we could not praise you the way you praise yourself." So this is the confession or admittance, submission that we can't know you. And this is the, after this point, Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, now if there is a question, if the real ma'rifat is not possible, then what is the meaning of the ma'rifat of the people of Gnosis? What is their cognizance? They say that reality of the essence or the being is cannot be known at all. But there is a possibility to have an idea through different descriptions or by having some kind. That's the reason you will understand this hadith now, that anybody who knows himself, he knows Allah. If somebody knows himself, he knows Allah. For example, he gives the example of qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We do things and we have an understanding what power should mean. I can push this from here to there. This is power. So you can understand Allah has an ability, a quality, an attribute to move things. That's the type of cognizance that one can have. Now, the more you see him moving things, the stronger the understanding gets. For example, if I see people moving these things, you may not see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do this. You may not see him doing it. But if you go out in the world of astronomy, out in space, people are not doing those things. And you will calculate and you say, that is power. So the more you know, this is the reason of the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that says, we shall show you his signs, not him, his signs within yourself and out in the universe. So this cognizance can come to you through your scientific discoveries, exploring the universe, as much as it can come to you through your exploring your own self. So that is the way which is possible and through which we can go ahead. As far as the reality is concerned, we only know that there is an attribute, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has it, but we don't know the reality of it. We don't know exactly what it means. But we have an understanding. We see people forgiving, we have an understanding of meaning of forgiveness. And the more we see the greater sin, more and more sinful people being forgiven, the quality of His forgiveness, we can have a better idea. And so we know the result of this. For example, He is creator. We know He is creation. He is creator. We know somewhat the meaning of creating, and we know the result of creation. And that's all we know. So more we encompass, the more we cover the items of this creation, items under the word creation, the more we understand. So this is the reason the cognizance of people have different grades. So the closer you get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more you find out. So this was a little bit journey through now the first 4 sections, if you study this book, I hope they are easy to understand now, inshallah. After that, the last thing I would like to mention a little bit about them. The names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are 99 in them, but some of them that we mention in our zikr. So I would like to say a little bit about them. For example, we do the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The word Allah, the word itself, they say it is a name for the being which is the absolute truth and which has all the qualities of excellence, which owns all the qualities of excellence. And He is the only one who really exists, because rest exists because of His kun. Otherwise none would be there. So He is the only one who really exists. So if you look at the word Allah and you have an imagination, that's why Sufiya always say, imagine in the beginning when you do the dhikr of Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has encompassed the whole universe within His control. And gradually they say you go, until you reach the point where anything in the middle have gone. It's only the light that has created everything. Everything else is gone. This is the imagination they give. That comes from this meaning of the word Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he says that this is the Ismul Azam. And you can't name a creation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what does a servant get from it? He says that the servant gets the blessing through which a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can be drowned into the closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so much that he only sees Him and nothing is visible to him. Again, the imagination, Sufi always say, that comes from this meaning. So when this happens, you have no hope from anybody, you have no fear of anybody. So this is the blessing through the dhikr of word Isma Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another name that we use in our dhikr is Al-Jabbar. Al-Jabbar is somebody whose will is executed whatsoever, and nothing and no one can ever resist it. His will be executed whatsoever without any resistance, and nobody can execute His will on him. That is the meaning of Jabbar. So nothing is out of His control. Among servants, Jabbar could be called, not the real meaning, but for the sake of meaning itself, Jabbar could be a person who has reached to a stage where he can make other people follow himself, and he can force them to follow him. And his seerah and his surah, his qualities and his character and his features are such that people, if you look at him, they will begin to follow him. They will begin to follow him. And he is the one who benefits and does not take any benefit. The one who look at him, he will have yearning, develop yearning towards him. And among the creation, nobody has this quality other than Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when we make the zikr of the word Jabbar, we need to understand that we don't have a wish, we don't have a will in front of His. And this gives the idea of submitting and following. The third one that we do the zikr of is Qahhar. Qahhar is somebody who is so powerful that he'll break the backbone of his enemies, just like that. And nobody can stand. And he can humiliate them through death and through humility in this world, or in the form of punishment. He can humiliate them. That is the meaning of qahr. So everybody in front of his qahr is without any force at all, under his control. And among creation, among servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are such who do this to their lower self. And as a result, they do this to shaitan, humiliate him by controlling their lower self, by humiliating their own lower self, nafs ammara. Because nafs ammara is a worse enemy than the shaitan, worse than shaitan. And the more a person dominates the desires of lower self, more he will dominate shaitan. And such person, if there comes a stage, if he remains on that stage, he does not come back, and he goes ahead of that stage, shaitan will never be able to dominate him or even to tempt him. That is the blessings of the word Qahhar. So that's how we need to look at this name when we say Ya Qahhar. And then at the end, Imam Ghazali says, if somebody is dead in terms of his desires in this world, then he is alive after he dies. Another name that we say is Al-Haq. This is opposite to Batil, falsehood. Whatever you take, it is either Batil or Haq. It's either of them. Or sometimes it is Batil from one end and Haq from the other side. But the real Haq is the one whose existence is beyond doubt proven with eternity. Nothing can be Haq more than that. So the meaning of eternity is attached to this word. And such Haq is the only one that could be regarded as the real existence. And nobody else should have this. So this shows that a person should start thinking that only one exists and we are non-existent when it comes to comparison with him. And self-annihilation, that is the result of the blessings through the word Haqq. Fana, that is the getting absorbed into his lights, into his attributes, and losing yourself, losing your own qualities. That is the meaning of this, or the blessing of this ism. And last two, Al-Hayy. Hayy means somebody who has hayat. Hayat is life. And we mentioned life is the perception and action together. And the minimum of this is to perceive that I am there. This is the minimum of hayat, of life. But the real living will be the one, and the perfect living and absolute living will be the one that nothing is out of his perception or his knowledge, I would say in this case. Out of his knowledge, and nothing is out of his control, out of his action. And that is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this gives the understanding, the word Al-Hayy gives the understanding of his dominance and control over us. And this only is for Allah. And the last one is Al-Qayyum. Qayyum, actually he says the things are two types. Things which do not exist unless they are attached to something else. Like color, qualities. For example, the whiteness is only as long as this paper is there. The moment the paper is gone, the color is gone. The moment the book is gone, this color is gone. So this is connected with this. So this can't be there without this. So such things, and second things, type of things are which are the essences of the thing, the individual entities, not the qualities, but the individual entities. Now, if you look at the individual entities, they also need something else, and that is the substance to make them. So the one who does not even need a substance, those who need substance, they are qaim. And the one who does not need any substance at all in order to be, that is qayyum. Then everybody else, everything else depends on him. That is the meaning of qayyum. So the blessing of the word qayyum is that a person begins to believe, and this faith goes stronger and stronger with the passage of time, that I only need him and he doesn't need anything. So over here we end this, but before we go, I would like to introduce you to this book. We take these names and what they say about these names, we just read that, so that we know what we are doing when it comes to the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names. About Allah, the word Allah, they say the name Allah or Ya Allah is the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it gives you purity inside, and it gives you tranquility, and it increases your iman and enhances the certainty. These are the qualities. So you can, if you want to make it more, then you can do the dhikr Ya Allahu Yahu together, both of them, 1,000 times a day with Durood Sharif before and after. These blessings will increase, but 100 times a day is a normal practice. Another one is Jabbar. The word Al-Jabbar, if somebody recites this name together with another wazifa, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect him. And if somebody continues for his life, then his enemies won't be able to damage him. And if you add Ya Jabbaru Ya Dhal Jalali wal Ikram with Ya Jabbar Ya Dhal Jalali wal Ikram, then the barakat will be increased. Again, 100 times a day. And another one is the Al-Qahhar. If somebody makes the zikr of this ism of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Qahhar for example, again 100 times a day at least, or then gradually his love for his desire will be weakened. The love for desires will be weakened. And the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase. The detachment of dunya will increase with the Ya Qahhar. And if somebody after sunrise or after the midnight says Ya Jabbaru Ya Qahhar Ya Zal Batsh Shadid 100 times, and when he says it last time, he says Khudh haqqi mimman zalamani wa ada alayya, then in that case his enemies won't be able to do anything against him. But this is an additional thing. Basically, the getting rid of desires, dominance, that is important. Another one is Ya Haqq. We do that zikr Ya Haqq, Ya Hayy. And about Ya Haqq, 312. Haqq means truth, and they say if you do this wazifa, then things that are lost, you will get them. And if you have some difficult tasks to do, then you can say this with the addition La ilaha illallah al-haqqul mubin. not only just haqq, la ilaha illallah al-haqqul mubin, then Allah will make it easy for you. And ya hayyu, the last two one, al-hayy, that the abundant zikr of word al-hayy will protect us from illness. And the spiritual power and strength increases with that. And if somebody continues all his life, he may receive the blessing of shahadat. Because hayy, somebody who lives, and shahadat will everlast, for living forever. So that is a possible outcome. And qayyum, if you do the dhikr of ism al-qayyum, ya qayyum, then you're feeling at heart that I need this, I need this, I need this, need that. This feeling will go down. The tranquility or the contentment will come. And also, if you read it in a place where no voice comes, we can't do this in here, you need to go out for that. But if you do that, then your memory grows stronger and you develop light in your heart. And if you make Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum together, then the barakat are increased. So this was a little bit about the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I've taken longer than a routine today, maybe around 40 minutes today. But this one is complete, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us proper understanding and following. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ.
اللهم إني نبيت بصوم غد من شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. اللهم تقبل منا هذا الصوم بحرمة السيد ولد أدنان يا عزيز يا غفار يا مستعان يا رحمن.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. الصلاة خير من النوم. الصلاة خير من النوم. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله في الأولين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه في الآخرين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت سيدنا ومولانا محمد الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته وارزقنا شفاعته يوم القيامة إنك لا